and welcome back to the Mind and Wellness podcast with me, Gemma Merna. So, we have the amazing Katie Crooks on today, and she's an intuitive hypnotherapist, and she's had over 20 years' experience in the professional performing arts world. So, I am so excited for this chat today. It is going to be one of my favorites. So, any performers out there, keep listening. So, Katie, welcome.
Thank you. So good to be here.
And thank you for, coming all this way to come and have a chat to us today.
Mm.
Yeah, I am so excited about this because we have so much in common. We met, didn't we, through me. Of course, I was doing my hypnotherapy, and that's how we met. And then I found out that you had all this experience in the performing arts world, and my mind was blown because I was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness. So I always ask most of our guests, like, take us on your journey, like how you become a hypnotherapist. Obviously, there's a lot to get there, but I'm really interested in the performing arts side of things, like how you got into that and then kind of led you on to the path that you're on now.
Yeah. Wow. How many hours do you
I
have?
know.
um, the beginning was an instinct to make sound, sing, and express myself, and realizing that no matter how much I was encouraged, the encouragement was always balanced out with a limitation. Sing nicely, be nice, do it correctly throughout, ever since I was this big, you know?
Really?
And I think that sowed the first seed of recognizing I needed to express myself further. And I didn't know how at that age. I just knew I had to get into performing in some context. And then, going off to doing music degree and drama school and becoming a singing teacher, which I just fell straight into. That was absolutely, the stars were aligned with that. I just noticed from day one of teaching singing that there was all this self-sabotage going on, and people were terrified to unlock and release their voice for fear of someone outside hearing them, people giggling if they made a silly sound. And I
Oh,
was,
yes.
does it,
I
it resonates?
so like, yeah, actually I'm tearing up a little bit
Right?
listening to this because just that, like, I've had times when I've been singing and someone's like made a giggle or something. If like you're in the performing arts world and it
Mm-hmm.
can be like that and it can be really bitchy.
Yeah.
I've had that and I've stopped myself and that's put
Yes.
me off from performing
Yeah.
for years and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what we do to ourselves, and as soon as we lock this up,
That's
that's
it. Yeah. That's the thing. This gets locked up. The throat center, the throat chakra gets locked up. And on a muscular level, you get the tongue tension. And that, for so many artists, I would do these tongue stretches with them and they just suddenly burst into tears. And intuitively, I was going, wow, okay, I know how to fix their larynx setup to get the right vocal quality, but we got to go deeper. Why are they holding on to so much emotion in the first place? And how is that inhibiting their voice? And if we can get, well, I'm feeling teary now. If we can get into the actual, in the blockage emotionally, energetically, then the practical side is going to be fixable so easily. Because these people will come back to me again and again and again with the same problem. And I'd be saying, well, what's going on? I've told you how to get your larynx in the right position. I've told you how to stand and align yourself and breathe. What's going on? And so things like the tongue tension, that pain, that would be one thing. I could hear it and see it. And it got to the stage where people would walk in the room and I immediately know that something was going to be, that they were going to need this tweaking in their voice. Because I could just see it in their demeanor, the way they were holding themselves. If they were shrinking and collapsing, I would be thinking, well, we've got to fix the psychological and the emotional underneath that. Otherwise, there's no point in me helping them align their posture. They're just going to go out the room and start shrinking again. So it was postural, it was laryngeal, it was about the larynx, the tongue, the jaw. That was a whole thing. And then so after doing music and becoming a singing teacher, after a few years, I went to drama school, trained in musical theatre. And that was where I learned about voice class, which wasn't about singing, it was spoken voice. And it was about the primitive aspect of voice and unlocking the the voice on a really primal, wow, an incredible level.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, really inspired me to then, I did a couple of years auditioning and did a few bits and bobs and went, my love is really in teaching voice.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went back and did a second master's in voice and singing. I
Wow.
went to Guildford School of Acting because it was the only place that did an integrated training in
Mm-hmm.
speech and singing.
Which not many singing teachers have, do they?
No, no, you're either a voice teacher
Yes.
or a singing
Mm-hmm.
teacher. And like people kept putting me in a box. Oh, you're a this, oh, you're a that. And I'd say, no, I'm both. I integrate both, you know?
And
Because we
it's
get,
right, we should be integrating
yeah,
both because the way we speak is then how we then take it to sing to the open up more to then. And it's interesting that because I've always struggled with my speech. Like I've
right,
always lost my speech when I'm in like a loud room. I will shout
yeah,
a lot. I'm very
right.
loud and then I get sore throat. Then that'd affect my
Mm.
singing voice. But because I always had just singing lessons, I never had speech lessons and spoken lessons. I think that's where it's important that you should be doing both because then they both help each other out.
You're so right. You're so right. And it was interesting because I noticed that the voice training, as in spoken voice training, was all about tapping into the emotion more. Whereas singing training, it was more about tapping into the technique, as if the emotional bit was already there because it was singing and it needed the technique to back it up. And I remember looking
Oh,
at this and going, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, it's not 100%.
yeah.
I mean, you had to do technique and emotion with both. But it was just interesting that the doorway into spoken voice was very experiential. It was about experience now and analyze later. Whereas singing teacher was very much, right, you want to make this kind of sound. Here's the mechanics of how we do it. And this is what we need to do to unlock the right bits to get you there. And I started thinking, well, that was my experience of
Yeah.
those kinds of training. Everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
And so I started to take spoken voice practices into the singing room and singing voice practices into the spoken voice room because I was teaching 50-50. Um, It was so fascinating seeing how the two got integrated. But then along came all these students with all these blockages on an emotional level, and I just went, right, we've got to go deeper. And
Yeah.
I worked with an amazing lady who came to me because she had just such voice problems, and she'd actually I won't give too many details about her physical health problems, but she ended up in hospital, and she had this experience where she has this memory of yelling and screaming. She was in ICU and she was really in quite a bad way. And she has this memory of yelling and screaming and wanting and releasing all this sound and saying horrible things to the nurses and the doctors. And afterwards, when she woke up and she said to them, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for what I said." And they said, "You didn't say anything. You were in a I'm not quite sure coma is the
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
word, but she was, yeah." And and she had all this horrendous restriction around her voice afterwards. And that led me onto a path of discovery with her. I wanted to know what caused that gripping. So I started to read books by Peter Levine around trauma and look into why the body holds on to this stress. And that sent me down the route of hypnotherapy. So I started to do some work with her and it unlocked something for her. I'm so grateful that she brought that trauma into the room.
Wow.
So I don't know what happened for her specifically, but my theory is that she felt that she'd released it. Her body was wanting to release all this probably
Mm.
trauma, but she didn't physically release the sound from her body. So her voice never got to make those vibrations. It never got to scream and shout and yell, even though in her imagination she had. Maybe in her imagination she was releasing it on some level, because we now know as hypnotherapists, the power of the imagination is huge.
Yeah.
So maybe there was some release in that respect. I don't know. It set me on the path of what I'm doing now.
It's so interesting that you say that because we've had a conversation about this. And the reason why I went to hypnotherapy originally was
Mm,
I sang from a child, love singing. It was my release, my step into my emotions. But I used to get
yeah,
so nervous and took over. And I got to a point where I just couldn't sing anymore. Just
yeah,
couldn't sing. I was trying and just the sound wasn't great. My body would go into absolute shutdown and shake.
yeah.
And that's why I originally went to hypnotherapy. And I had a few sessions and got back on stage and sang. And it was amazing to do that. But I'm not where I am now. As we've had a conversation, like after now becoming a hypnotherapist, doing so
Mm,
much work, I'm
yeah.
starting to sing now and it just flies out and it's so effortless. And but I don't know if it's just because I've freed up my mind more and I've learned so much more about myself. But as a performer, I don't think we're taught. Like I used to have these self-sabotaging thoughts. I'd sing and just before that big note was coming, I was like, "You're not gonna hit that.
Yeah.
You're
So
not gonna
you're
hit
telling
it."
yourself a story that's lining you
Yeah.
up for,
And
yeah.
then I didn't.
Yeah.
So and but then that self-sabotaging thought got stronger and stronger and stronger because I didn't know what it was, number 1. I didn't know how to kind of control it, I
Yeah.
didn't know how
Or
to
change it into
yeah, to like,
something beneficial.
make it a little bit quieter and then replace it with a better thought. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And did you find that a lot of performers didn't have a clue, like when you were working with them? They knew how to sing or
Yeah.
they knew how to, voice, but they didn't know how
Yeah. They
how to
didn't,
to help with this.
no idea. No idea. Or they'd have sort of dipped their toe into meditation or talking therapy, which is a great start. It gives those issues a voice, but they didn't necessarily know how to change it at the unconscious level. And that's where the jewel is. When you change it at the unconscious, subconscious level,
Mhm.
then everything on the surface just shifts. The tectonic plates do their shifting for you, and you don't have to think about changing your mindset because you've healed the root cause. And so I would see this, for example, belting,
Yeah.
you know, I would be teaching them all the right techniques, the
Mhm.
positioning, the bit of anchoring, all of the right setups, and get them to do it. And they would go, oh, and they'd suddenly lock and they'd
Yeah.
flip from their intuition into their head. And so I used to trick them into belting by saying, imagine a color you have in your hand, a handful of paint, throw that color, tell me what color it is, make a silly sound, boom, it was there. And then I'd say, right, what you did then was your larynx was here, your breath was doing this, did you notice your posture was here? And they'd go, oh yeah, I did. So I kind of, I suppose in a way, gave them a sort of a reframe in that I
Mm.
took a different doorway into the work. I took more of a spoken voice approach into the work, I suppose.
I think that's really interesting because I know when I was being trained, it was probably before it become very technical and I'd naturally belt.
Right. Yes.
So
Your body knows
I
how.
naturally belt. And
Yeah.
then I went into moved to different singing teachers. Then they started teaching me technical. Then I was in my head. Then I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do this.
You
And
know,
I think that might be a bit of a problem sometimes as well with performers as well. Like because it being so technical, like singing it should be a natural thing as
we
well,
know
shouldn't
how
it?
to
Like we
do
know
it.
how to do
It's the
it.
first thing we do when we're born.
Yeah.
Most of the time is scream and yell and howl and wail, and we're not allowed to as a society, you know. And so often we're told, I mean, boys are often told don't show any emotion, don't
Mm,
cry, don't be a girl. So there's that in itself. And then, I mean, I'm sort of polarizing it. It's much more general than that, but certainly I was always told, be a nice young lady, be a nice little girl, be sweet, be nice, sound sweet when you sing. And then you're told at drama school, no, you want to sound raw and connected and real, while at the same time being told, you're doing that wrong, do it like this. And so there was so many mixed messages that, yeah, people get all up in their heads and then they stop trusting their instincts. And I think that the reason your voice unlocked was because you started owning your truth.
totally. Totally agree with that. I think it's own my truth and release and doing what I'm truly passionate about now. So I
This is
think,
your soul's calling.
yeah, I totally agree.
Totally.
And I think singing's just become like fun again to me, like how acting's become
Yes,
fun again, and it should
that's
be.
it.
But
Yeah, it
when you
should
do it as
be.
a job, the fun starts to go.
You've absolutely nailed it in one. That's the thing. People start treating it like a job and then they get all up in their heads and they start telling them stories about what they should be or shouldn't be doing. And yet the actors I've seen who've really thrived are the ones who enjoy the game, and they're consistently in their play state. And even if they're told to be technical, they somehow have that um, ability to stay in their play state. And I honestly think that everyone has the ability to do that. It's just that some of us have been conditioned in different ways.
Yeah.
And, in our hypnotherapy training, we were always, we learned that, you're born pure source and love and light and connection and joy and all these incredible things. And then life happens and it sticks all these layers of conditioning on you. And the biggest piece of conditioning I've heard so many times, and I don't know, as soon as I say what I do, people just tell me this story again and again is, oh, my primary school teacher heard me singing in the school choir and went to me and said, you're singing flat, mime, or stand at the back of the choir. And then so and so, you can stand in their place. And so they literally got evicted from the tribe, or in their head, evicted from the tribe. And on a primal level, the reason so many people are terrified of using their voice truthfully is because 200,000 years ago, if we did use our voice truthfully, we risked getting kicked out by our tribe and evicted. And in those days, that usually would have meant running through the jungle, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger because we get eaten for lunch. So our nervous system
Yeah.
thinks we're going to die when we get told to stand at the back of the choir. There's this shame and this, I'm not enough. I can feel it in my heart when I say this because I can feel it. There's so many people have had this exact story. And when you're a child, this as a hypnotherapist, up until the age of 7, maybe 9, some people say different things, but most people say at the age of 7, our brains are in theta. And so these layers of conditioning that get stuck on us become our truth until we realize that it's not our real truth.
Yeah.
That's where hypnotherapy is so powerful, because you heal it in the unconscious and you change those, you de-hypnotize yourself from all that programming that was never you.
I totally agree. And all those layers, like you were saying. And then when I think as a performer, you go for auditions and you don't get the job and it might be completely out of your control. You go, there we go. There's evidence.
There's evidence.
And that is the brain putting evidence on top. And it's interesting because that's what happened to me. If you didn't get a job, I was like, I'm terrible. I'm not good enough for the job.
Yes.
But actually now, I actually think, no, I've done a good job. It's all down to different factors. But a lot of performers don't think that way. They fixate on, I want that job. I need that job. But it might not be right for you, and it might not be right for you at the time. But then that can make your mindset and make you so ill because you just kind of are so fixated. I've been there. I've done it. I know. And this is why I try my best to be as open as possible with my thought process and all the things that I've gone through. And this is where I want to help performers out more, because I stopped performing for so many years because of this.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a real
shame.
shame.
You obviously, it was my story and it's given me time to grow as a person. I think I needed to grow as a person before I stepped back into it. But I want other performers to realize out there that we don't need to put so much pressure on ourselves. We don't need to fixate on, if we didn't get a job, that's because we're not good. There's so many different factors, just everything from how you look. Do you match the other family, saying if it's a TV thing,
Do you fit the costume that's already been made for the previous act?
Exactly. That's what it's like in theatre, isn't it?
Yeah, in theatre.
In theatre,
absolutely.
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And people have such a strong idea in their minds often of what you should be, or they don't know at all, and they just get everyone in. And they don't. Yeah.
I've been to those auditions. You walk in, they go, "No, I'm not even said a word. I've come all the way down to London."
Doesn't that just? I know, right? All that. Oh, that time for them. I used to say to my voice students, "Look, if they walked into a showroom and you're the Ferrari and they decide they want a Porsche, it doesn't mean the Ferrari's not as good as the Porsche. It's still a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
They're going to pick the thing that they are drawn to, and it's nothing to do with you. No one is anything they say or do is nothing to do with you. It's all the filters through which they see the world. And you might happen to wear a certain color top and they hate that color, and it's got nothing to do with you. You absolutely cannot control their reactions. Every audition I didn't want, I'd get, because I didn't care.
It's always the way.
Non-attachment, isn't it always the way? Complete non-attachment to outcome, just lands in your lap.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you go in with, I used to say this to students as well, if you go into an audition, treat it like a first date. If you go to a first date and you're needy and you're trying to be something you want them to see, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel off and they're not going to know
Mm.
why. And even if they do like you because you play to what you think they want to see, it's only going to end up with tears before bedtime. So you might as well be wholeheartedly you. Yeah. And so, when I stopped auditioning and I fully jumped into voice coaching, I accepted that that's really where my soul's purpose
Mm.
lies. I then started a swing band. And it was great because I can have blue hair and stand on stage, and no one's going to say you can't have the job because your hair's the wrong color. I just own my truth. I tell the band what to do.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
love that. I
I
love
mess up and
that.
they say sorry.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love that.
So good.
Because we are so conditioned, aren't we? Like, we've got to have our hair a certain way. We've got to,
Yeah.
I went and had a piercing here and I was like, oh, you know what? I can do that
Yeah.
because I'm not in a job that they
Right.
go, you can't have a piercing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Oh, yeah. And so I think as soon as you own your truth and own your power and everything that you are, then when you walk into a room, people are going to fall over themselves to book you because they love your energy. They can feel that you're taking ownership of who you are. They can see it in your headshots. You can see those when someone's really just owning themselves.
Mm.
They just you. I couldn't even put it down to one thing. You just feel it. When you walk into a room, people feel it.
Yeah, I totally. And that's when they say that that's charisma, isn't it? That is charisma. It's like you do see actors out there who do really well. Or singers, and if you've ever come across them or met them or seen them at something, I've at like award ceremonies or done a workshop with them, they walk in the room and they have this air about them, and that's charisma, and
That's
that's
it.
what the casting directors and producers want to see, because then if they know that that performer can trust themselves and do a good job, their job is safe.
So easy. Yeah, because when I would have people come into the room for voice, if they trusted themselves, I knew I was going to do an amazing job as a teacher. And those people who came in and were 100% with me, I always gave a great lesson. When people came in and they doubted me or they doubted themselves, it never brought the best out in me as a
Mm,
teacher.
mm,
I can't blame them
yeah.
because if at the time I'd owned my own power more, I their belief system would have had nothing to do with the way I taught. But I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
seek approval from my students because when I was a baby voice coach and starting out, I didn't know that my presence, my charisma, my
Mm,
self-belief would have such an impact on the energy in the room. And then when I started to do self-hypnosis, I would go into the staff room, changing room
mm.
that the dance department would use, and I'd sit down and I'd close my eyes and I'd do my self-hypnosis, and I'd pick an affirmation, a hypno affirmation such as I'm in control, I'm an expert in voice, and I love each and every one of the people in the room. Or it'd be something about
Mhm.
connecting them, seeing their skill, talent, ability, potential, and really, really trusting myself. Or it would be I trust myself. I have command of the room. Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Wow, the difference in my just the way I held myself, the way I breathed. People can sense unconsciously your pupils dilating, your heart rate through your neck. They can see these things, and they don't consciously recognize it. They can unconsciously read what's going on,
Mm.
let alone on an energetic level. People are going to be picking up on this stuff. So when you really trust yourself and own your power, the difference in people's response,
I
huge.
love that you've brought that in actually about the self-hypnosis, because how important is it to bring in meditation or self-hypnosis
Yes,
before you perform?
yes,
And this is something I really want to get out there as much as possible. So I'll tell you a little story actually. So last week I had a self-tape. Again, did it. Thought, not sure about that.
yeah.
Was it all right? Then got a recall the day after. So then I had to jump on a Zoom with the director and two casting directors. My automatic self went into nervousness because that's how it is in an audition. I did a trust meditation off our mind and wellness. That's my voice.
Amazing.
I did myself, and then just before I did my self hypnosis and said, I've got this. Did the affirmations within the self hypnosis, come out of it. And honestly, I was like a different person. I actually shocked myself.
Yeah.
I joined the call, did everything they asked of me. Thank you very much. And then again, I've let it go. Like, of course, I want the job. Every actor wants the job, but it's like, let it go. If it's going to be mine, it's going to be mine. If it's going to be somebody else's, it's going to be somebody else's. But the difference that doing the meditation in the morning when I woke up and then just before the call, doing my self hypnosis, I felt so powerful.
Yeah,
And
so
I really
powerful.
was in my own truth.
Yes. The truth,
And
your
this is,
power.
it'd be amazing just for performers to know that, because I didn't know that, how much it can help with an audition.
Yeah. It's the first thing I teach. I
Yeah.
used to sneakily teach my drama school students.
Did
I
you?
just called it meditation instead because it is no, I called it mindfulness
Yeah.
really. It is mindfulness, and as we were taught by Grace, it's meditation with a goal. Mindfulness, you've got a purpose while going into meditation. I call it active meditation now with your mantra or your hypno affirmation. It changes everything.
That changes everything. It's the affirmation, isn't it?
Oh
Like, or
yeah,
mantra, whatever you would like to call it. But
yeah.
that changes everything. If you don't 100% believe in it, if you say it enough, your body
If you
and then
go,
your mind
yeah,
believes in it.
that's it. If you go deep enough so that your conscious mind doesn't block it, and you go
Mm-hmm.
into theta and then you say it, your unconscious mind is going to start to develop those neural pathways. Although I'd always go a step further to say, if you are not feeling it at all, for example, you want to feel confident, but if you have zero confidence, it's very, very difficult to go straight into saying, I am confident. But what you can do is get your unconscious mind on board by saying, every day I'm choosing to feel more confident.
Yeah.
And so
A
your
little bit
unconscious
softer,
mind,
that, isn't it?
yeah. And then you can ease your way into the point where you can say, I am confident, or I'm choosing to feel confident today, or every day I look for excuses to feel confident. Well,
Mm,
that's a good affirmation.
I like
Maybe I'm going
that.
to use that
Well, I
one.
bring all this into yoga now. That's the
It's
thing. Like, when we stand in
amazing.
mountain pose, like
Yeah,
before we start to flow,
yeah.
I get people to stand in mountain pose. I get them to stand tall, close their eyes, really connect with themselves and visualize
Yes.
their future them, who they want to become.
That
And if
future
that's like
you stuff.
confident, if that's running your own business, if that, it
Yeah,
could be absolutely anything.
yeah.
I want you to feel it. And honestly, I look around the room and people are stood there like that. And it makes me so
Oh,
proud because it's like,
power.
as soon as you do take your sight away and you get into your body,
Yes.
you feel it. You feel that confidence all here in the heart
It's
chakra.
in there.
Is so
Yeah.
powerful.
You've
And
got to go
and then
internal, haven't you?
exactly, and that's what I bring, like the hypnosis into my yoga, because I teach such somatic yoga, releasing emotion, but also I work a lot of future self, because I'd say I've done a lot of that. Like,
Mm,
okay, what does
yeah,
my
same.
future self, what decision am I going to make today that my future self wants in 6 months' time? You know what I mean?
I
And
have
sometimes
conversations. Yeah.
it's hard because
It's
you've got to make a real big leap,
yeah.
but it gets you to that person.
Oh, absolutely big time. I've started having conversations with Katie 8-figure Katie. And
Oh,
she gives me direction. She gives me
yeah,
leadership.
yeah.
I think I'll tune in. I'll go into self hypnosis and then I'll tune in to, okay, what does Katie 8? How would she open up doors to her programs, her gifts, her skills? How would she do that? And she'll be talking. I'll have in my imagination a full out conversation with her, and she'll say,
Mm,
right, you need to do this, this, and this. She's given me numbers and told me, right, you need this many people. At, well, she hasn't said that exactly. She's given me the numbers, and then afterwards, I've got the calculator out and gone, oh, that's exactly 10 figures. How did she do that?
because we
8 figures
we
even.
already have it in our mind.
Our unconscious knows so much more than we consciously
Exactly.
know.
And it's about
Yeah.
just slowing down
Listening.
and allowing it to just come.
Yeah. Getting out of your head and into your
And I
body.
think that's really important for performers, or anybody actually who's listening. But
Yeah.
obviously, we're speaking about performers from my background, your background, that allow it to happen. Don't put the pressure on, just but really connect to the mindfulness work. It really does help.
Massively. People don't realize how
Yeah,
powerful it is. They think it's just a little bit of
I know.
meditation, but oh my gosh, you just get such powerful shifts. And
Hmm.
you're right, it's internal. I'm always saying you can't fix the external
Yeah,
without fixing the internal. You change it in here, and everything around you, those tectonic plates are going to shift. You can't expect them to. Just do the inner work, put the change there,
yeah.
the rest, and you can't change anyone else either.
No,
But I've definitely noticed that when I've done the inner work, I'm no longer triggered by people in the same way.
I agree.
And then suddenly things start to shift and change.
Mm, I totally agree. And I think when you do that inner work as well, even the people that go, "Oh, it's a little bit woo woo,"
Oh,
next minute
yeah.
they go, "You look really happy. How do I
Yeah.
get like
Yeah.
that?"
I want that. I want that. Yeah.
A lot of people then come like, "Oh, I want to do a bit of that."
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean?
I mean, I'm
So,
flippant. I flippantly joke about the fact that I'm a crystal wielding,
me too.
sage burning tree
Yeah, yeah,
hugger.
yeah, yeah. Love
But
it.
oh my goodness, this work it works. It has created such energetic shifts in me that I'm magnetizing a totally different kind of person to me now. And these are people I love working with. And when I started out, it was the same in voice coaching. When I started out, I wasn't owning my truth, I wasn't trusting myself. And
Mm,
I would be attracting the wrong kind of jobs, the wrong kind of, not the wrong, they were right for me at the time because it was what I was in alignment with. But when I started to really come into an alignment with who I really am and say, you know what, if you come to me for hypnotherapy, you're going to get the past life stuff, you're going to get the soul journey stuff, we're going to do ancestral trauma clearing, we're going to do all the woo woo stuff, love me or leave me, you know?
exactly.
Then my people come to me, and
Yeah.
I know that these are the people that I'm meant to be serving. And those people who want the more, I say left brain, but maybe that's right, the more tangible shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the shifts I offer, you do this, it is really tangible, but it's on a deeper level. Those people who want just a mindset shift, or they just want to make their stress go away, but they don't want to go deep into healing it, they just don't seem to be as drawn to me as they used to be.
Mm.
And there's someone out there who's absolutely right for them. And that's,
I get that.
yeah,
I get that because I find that now with clients that I work with, like people that I work with at the beginning, like I probably knew,
oh,
you
yeah,
know, like
your
you just
intuition knows,
know, and I
I tell
kind of just
you.
say like surface level,
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine, but there's a better coach or a better hypnotherapist for you.
absolutely.
I through my journey and the work I've done, I want to work with people who do want to heal from the inside out.
That's it.
And I know, and the people that I have worked with and completely trusted me and lent into it within us working together for like 12 weeks, they're a different person by the end of it. And if people can heal that in that short amount of time,
Life changing.
it's life changing.
Yeah,
And
yes.
I would be doing injustice if I didn't just say, right, this is because at the moment I am the same, like, hypnotherapy, 12 weeks. I know you
Yeah.
do so many months, don't you, with
Y-
people. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes you do get people, oh, can you not just do a one-off? And I'm like, no, because it doesn't serve me. It's not, I don't believe that's enough.
No, it's not.
And it's hard at first, isn't it, to
Yeah.
kind of
Mm.
stand your ground with that. But
Yes.
then the more you do it and then the more you get evidence from clients, the more you go, no, I am making the right decision here.
I'm not here for the quick fix.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, don't there are moments where I think, okay, doesn't I'm listening to my intuition more, and sometimes my intuition goes, you know what, this person, they don't need my 6 month journey. They
Hmm.
just need a little some. So occasionally, but the difference is I go from my intuition now.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, I work with my clients for 6 months. However, if I'm really feeling it with someone,
Mm.
then my gut will tell me, yeah, you want to do something. But that's the point. I'm doing it on my terms, not because there's a need to people please,
Yeah.
or the need for my business to do really well. I've let go of any of those attachments and just trust that the right people come in at the right time,
Yeah.
And it's
I
not
love
about
that.
guarding and putting the walls up. It's about just being truthfully you, so you
Mm.
attract the right people. In the same way that when you're truthfully you, you'll attract the right auditions and the right jobs.
I agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree. And I love that because also, and I'll share this. We had a session, didn't we? As part,
Yeah.
and we had it on success. So I
Yes.
was really struggling with I wanted to do all what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
but I think I had this blockage of becoming successful.
That's right.
And we had one session. I know we did a few
Yeah.
more, but we had one session on success. And then the past couple of months, everything has just flown. And I've allowed it to just flow. And, obviously doing the podcast, doing art in person. I've been asked to speak, to teach at Happy Place Festival. And I'm like, oh my God, all these wonderful things are happening. And I put it down to that one
That
session
int
of the success,
Yeah. Yes.
because there was a blockage. There was a
Yeah, there was something
blockage, yeah,
holding you back. You
holding me back.
The blockage was
It was a fear, I think, of what I've previously been through, you know what I mean, within the industry.
yeah.
I honestly believe it was that, but it just shows, doesn't it? Like some people go, when I tell that story, people go, "You didn't have a session on that." I'm like, I had a session on
Yeah.
success because I was blocking my own success.
That's it. And I think, oh my gosh, yeah, that was such a good session. I enjoyed that so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So many people block their own success because they're afraid of their own power and
Mm,
they're afraid of their own impact.
yeah,
And I've been working on this myself as well as shifting the any, blocks around staying small. And I've realized that my work really is so much about the throat and the voice and truth and self-expression, but it's also about getting people to a place where they're not afraid of their own power anymore
yeah.
and trusting their self-expression and
I
saying, you know what?
totally get that.
Yeah,
I totally get everything you're saying there. It's
it's
like,
safe to be powerful.
yeah, I think I was a bit frightened of that because I think I've always been this, like, always wanting to do big things and always been quite confident. But I always got told as a child by friendship groups, like, oh, you're too much. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
oh,
you're loud, you're
that's
too much. Or I always got pushed out of the girl group because I was a
yes.
bit different and I was a bit wacky and
Oh, I didn't even get in the girl groups in the first place. I was just way too weird.
but I was like always pushed out. So I've
Yeah,
always kind
I
of,
hear you.
in a way, probably kept myself small. And then on the show, I went big, and then I brought myself back down. I like self-sabotage, brought myself back down to fit in again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I think I've kind of gone, I'm not dimming my light for no one
No
anymore. I am
way.
going to be powerful and I am going to do what I want to do and speak my truth. And, if it doesn't work for other people, it's none of my business.
What they think of you is none of
And
your
I want
business.
more people to be that way. You know what I mean? To
Yes.
feel that
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
allow themselves,
Yeah.
because all of us are so much more powerful than we think we are.
Absolutely. Yes. Imagine
Um,
if no one was afraid of their own power.
mm,
I say that in a way. Hopefully, everyone's got good intentions, but I think most people have got good intentions deep down. And if no one was afraid of their own power, what creativity and change could we bring?
exactly.
What you and I are doing is huge.
I
The
know.
change that
I
we're
know.
guiding people into. And what's great is that we both know that it's not about what we can do. We're just guides. We're showing people how to heal the things within their own unconscious mind. We don't have the magic stuff. They do. The client does. Every single person has it within them.
Yeah.
And so when we did our session,
Yeah.
I didn't do any magic stuff. All I did was encourage you to allow your own unconscious mind to have the change,
Mhm.
to initiate the change.
Yeah.
I just know how to intuitively guide, and that's what we're trained to
Yeah.
do. But more than training, there's a deep intuition
Yeah.
that we tap into in order to ask the right questions and guide in the right way. And I think more and more people are learning to tap into their deeper intuition and listen to that
Mm,
truth inside, because that's where the good stuff comes. That's where the creativity comes, isn't it?
I totally agree with you. And I think when I become a hypnotherapist, I I I learned my intuition
Yeah.
through it.
Yes.
Like, I think now, because I remember speaking to you about a few sessions, and you're all prepped and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
once I took that pressure away and allowed the session to flow in a
Yes.
way
Yeah.
that the client wanted it to flow, and
Yes.
if I'm truly listening and truly in that session with that client,
Yeah.
my intuition guides.
Oh,
They guide me, and
100%.
then I go, it's funny because, I've only been a hypnotherapist from January, but I do find now that with clients, I know exactly what they need
Yes, yeah,
in
you
that
know.
session.
Yeah,
It's it's
it's
just it just
uncanny, isn't it?
takes you to another
Oh, it's
level.
beautiful.
It really
You're
does.
right.
I think that is really important to kind of
Yeah.
say and to share. Like, not every session is the same. It just
No sessions.
flows
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you a lot of that's what you should be
Yeah.
allowing to happen in
Oh,
life.
yes. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if people just trusted their intuition so much more in life? Things would, serendipities would happen. Those moments when you trust, oh, they're
I
just so
know.
juicy. And,
Mm,
going back to the work as a hypnotherapist, when we trained, we were given certain protocols, but we were also encouraged to trust those protocols, sure, but trust your intuition more. And you can go off script. And
yes.
there are about two or three scripts that I just have to the site, specific processes that
Mm,
that will be my go-tos, but I rarely look at them now, if ever. It's all intuitively guided because the client has it
yeah.
within them. And I know that there are a lot of hypnotherapists out there who use
Hmm.
scripts, and I think they have their place. And once in a blue moon, I'll download one and I'll look at it and go, oh yeah, that's really good. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, that will suit so and so. But I probably do that about once every 6 months now. The
Mm,
rest is intuitively guided. And even if I did use a script, I'd probably change every two words anyway,
yeah.
because everything we're doing is applicable to the individual. And that's what I love about hypnotherapy,
Mm,
is that you're always using their words, their resources. And also, I don't know about you, but someone said to me the other day, in fact, people ask me this a lot, don't you get tired seeing all these clients back to back and running these group sessions and your one-to-ones? No, I don't.
energizing.
Yeah, it's energizing.
Into
Yeah,
yeah.
because there's resolution. And that's the difference, I think, between talk therapy and hypnotherapy. In that talk therapy, you analyze the problem, you talk about the problem, you understand the problem more deeply, and you understand that maybe it came from when I was 3 years old and this happened and that
Hmm.
happened. Great. And then you keep talking about the problem, and that strengthens the neural pathways in your brain that exacerbate the problem.
Yeah.
Whereas hypnotherapy, of course, puts
Release
the
it.
roadblock up and releases it, or changes the
Yeah.
direction of the neural pathways and creates new pathways in the brain. And I think it goes so much deeper than neural pathways. It's
I
energetic,
think
it's
it
emotional,
does. It
it's
goes into the whole body. And
oh yeah.
I so agree with you on that. I had talk therapy and
Yeah.
just didn't get anything from it. With hypnotherapy, it was wonderful.
Oh,
Things were getting released, and then
instantly.
instantly, and then I was
Yeah.
feeling better, and I was becoming this version that I wanted to be, but
Yes.
something was holding me back, and I was like,
Yeah.
this stuff
This
works. And that's why,
really
I
works.
went on the training to become a hypnotherapist, because I
Yeah.
thought it was just the most wonderful tool that I've ever come across.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
just
just
I, it's not it's not it's not offered in a way of what talk therapy is offered, is it?
no.
It's getting more like
Oh
that for the
gosh.
likes of
Yeah.
us talking about it,
Mm.
Grace. It's
Yeah. It
it
drives
is.
me
I know.
it drives
I
me
know.
nuts. People come to me all the time saying, "Oh, I've got this problem and I've talked about it. I've talked it through in
Yeah.
therapy." And I'll say, "Yes, have you had hypnotherapy for it?"
Mm.
"No, but I've talked it through and talked it through." I'm just like,
Yeah.
just listen.
Yeah.
You've got to heal the root.
Yeah.
What is it going on? And yes, we don't need to know the
Mm.
root always. Sometimes we'll
I
regress and
think
heal the
that's what's
wound.
quite nice as well. Also, like,
Mm.
say there is anything with people, you want to let go
Yes.
of anything.
Oh, so
I think
powerful.
that's it's so much nicer to do it through your own brain, through hypnosis, than having
Yes.
that person in the room and having to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, because the subconscious mind's language is the
Yeah.
imagination. So when you work with the imagination, the
Yeah.
conscious mind might be going, How the heck is this even going to work?" While the unconscious is going, yeah,
Yeah.
I've released that, I've cleared it, that stuff has gone, fixed, I'm done, I'm changed.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also
It's
with that other person,
incredible.
it might just be something that, something's kind of annoyed you or whatever
Yeah, it doesn't have to
in the
be
past,
you.
and you're still very close to them, but you don't want to have that conversation with them, but
No.
you need to release something that you're holding on to. I think
Yes.
that's really powerful. And that's what I've noticed a lot of my clients loving. And then the relationships are flourishing so much more with that
Yeah.
person. Do you
Yeah.
know?
Do you know, I've been doing a tiny, tiny bit of research into Ho'oponopono.
Okay.
And that is, oh my goodness, beautiful. Because
Mm,
what you're doing with that, as far as I'm beginning to understand it, is that you are actually taking full responsibility by recognizing that this dynamic is actually not about that person at all. It's a mirror to what's going on in here between you and the divine. And when you heal this, then that relationship suddenly shifts and it heals things, and miraculous things happen when we do this.
totally.
So much of what we're seeing in our relationships and our situations and blocks and things that we manifest and come into our lives, when we take full responsibility and
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, why have I manifested
Hmm.
this dynamic? Why have I manifested this cold sore? Why have I manifested
Yeah.
this problem, this drama? What is it in me that's attracting this?
Mm,
And when we heal that inner thing,
yeah.
not with any guilt or shame or judgment, just going, okay, I'm going to approach this with pure love and kindness, that's when the big shifts happen.
And taking full responsibility
That's it.
instead of the
Yeah.
blame on other people.
Yes. Not being
Taking
in victim and poor me. Oh, bad things happen
Mm.
to me.
But there's so
That's,
many people that are in victim mode and just blame everybody else. And I think if people took more responsibility and gone, oh, you know what? That is actually me.
but we're trained to not take responsibility. We're
Yes.
told as children, oh, it's that. Or, yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
always. I'm making a huge assumption. That's a story I'm telling myself perhaps.
Might
So
happen to
funny.
you. No, but
Yeah.
I get that. No, it was in my childhood. It's like it's somebody else. You know what I mean? Until I started to take responsibility for my own actions, and also don't allow anybody else. This is another thing I've learned. Don't allow somebody else to affect my inner peace. If they,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If they
It's,
kind of want to have a hissy fit or whatever, you know what I mean? It's not
yeah.
going to affect my inner peace. It's That's been a big thing because people's emotions, because I'm such an empath, used to really
Yeah.
affect me. And
Massive.
that's something that I've learned over the time, which has been
Yeah.
incredible.
That's incredible that when you suddenly realize that the way that person looked at you
Yeah.
has nothing to do
Nothing to
with
do with
you.
you.
It's
Something
all
else
about
going on
them.
with them.
Yeah. And when you can send them love and light and forgiveness and so much love.
We love at Mind and Wellness, we love our meditations, the meta one where we send out love to even people
Oh,
that we might not have
yes.
spoke to for years.
Yeah.
Send out love and kindness,
Yeah.
and
It
it
changes this
lifts,
internal.
it lifts that your body. You don't feel as restricted because remember, when we're saying no or we've got anger in the body, we feel
Oh,
it. It
it
feels
congeals
heavy.
and it's
But if we say
damaging.
yes to things and allow it to go, it
That's
it
it.
lightens us up.
Yeah,
Um, but I wanted
totally.
to kind of move on to the past life work that you
Oh.
do because this, at first, I was like, what? And then I did one of your courses and I was like,
Oh,
wow.
yes.
And then I seen just people on there like and it's just amazing. So I wanted to kind of like discuss it because something probably people don't really know about it, but we hold on to ancestral
Wow.
programming as well, don't we?
Oh, it's huge. And studies have shown that our well, not literally the DNA, but something within our DNA actually does hold on to 2 generations worth of trauma. So we know on a 3D level that this stuff is happening. But this, oh wow, where do I start? The first past life regression I ever did was a spontaneous past life regression during a normal hypnotherapy session. And I'm allowed to share this information, I think, because she shared it before, but it was with Grace Smith, our teacher. And I was giving her a session and she just went there. Because I mean, she's so experienced. I mean, she just
Yes.
went to this past life. And I thought, oh, heck, hang on, this is going to be a wild ride. Wow, it was a wild ride. And we needed to release something. And it turns out that there was something way, 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 way back. And I've had this many, many times. It was that experience that said to me, right, this is going to happen with clients. I know it. It started to happen after that session. I've got to go and train. And so that's why I did the training.
Mm.
There have been many, many sessions where I've said to a client, okay, let's feel into this emotion, this feeling, this sensation, so that we can heal it at the root. And in some way, and it's often different every time, sometimes quite spontaneously, an image will come up or a feeling or a sensation, and it'll be something like shackles, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm in a hot. It's hot. There's sand. Oh, there's something. There's shackles around my neck. Oh, I'm a slave." And suddenly the story will come out, and oh wow, I'm so much of the belief that whether it's an actual past life, whether the brain has made up a story in order to get resolution, or
Mm.
whether we're dipping into some kind of collective consciousness that we don't yet understand, I actually don't care. And I care deeply,
Yeah.
but I don't mind. What I care about is giving the client resolution. And if someone's come for a session and they've got this mental block, or this, no, it's not mental, it's emotional, this energetic
Mm.
block on success, or owning their truth, owning their voice, and something comes up in the session that they had in a past life, they had something tied around their neck and they were told to be quiet, or they were unable to speak because they couldn't
Mm.
speak. If someone had that and we heal it there, everything changes.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It's crazy. It's just beautiful, beautiful how everything changes.
And do you feel like with the work that you do now, you've really moved more into past
Yes.
life now?
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I do sessions now is I don't intentionally say, right, it's we're going to do a past life. And some
Mm.
I do have that as a package that people can have with me, and that's great. We do a 3-part journey. But quite often during standard hypnotherapy sessions, what's there something will come up and we'll just go there. And so for me, the way I work now is I just feel into my intuition, and the talk at the beginning of the session, something will come up, and so we'll feel into the sensation of those triggers, and we'll go into hypnosis. And as soon as you go into hypnosis, their intuition is going to tell you what
Mm.
is needed. And when you combine that with your own intuition, never lead the witness, of course. We're always trained, never lead the witness, always invite and ask and offer. But when, yeah, it's just so intuitive now. So which of my sessions did you do, the 5-day live
The
or the
it was the workshop, the 2 day.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Um
The ancestral trauma clearing.
mm,
Because wow,
mm.
there's so much to clear around that. I need to be careful what story I tell myself around that. We are clearing a lot
Yeah.
around that. Um,
I just find it all fascinating because this is the programs that we all run on is ancestral as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
We start, we start doing things that our parents did that we didn't even really like, but we do
No,
it.
no.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or
And
say
they did it
things,
because of their
or like
parents.
say you have children and you've always said, "Oh,
Yeah,
if I had children, I wouldn't do this
yeah,
parenting style." You end up doing it
yeah,
because it's in the subconscious mind
yeah.
and people aren't aware of it as much. And they
No.
go, it's that thing, oh, I don't know why I say that when my mum says. I used
Oh
to hate
my
that, but
goodness.
that
Yeah.
is what we as hypnotherapists can heal. But
Yes.
also what you do with the past life, we go even further
Further
back of
back.
that, of all the past lives. And
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to come round because I
Oh,
was saying to you, and it came round at Grace Smith, and I was like,
yeah.
I've just qualified. I kind of
That's
needed
right.
some time to just work with clients
Yeah.
because I am one that I love going from qualification to
Yeah.
qualification.
A course junkie, a
I
training junkie. I'm so the
absolutely
same.
love it.
Yeah, I
But
hear
I
you.
was just like, no, I just need some time to work with clients, get, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Get comfortable with this, start trusting my intuition, which I feel
Yes.
like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I'm attracting the clients I want to work
Yes.
with. They're like deep healing is happening with my clients. And
Yeah.
oh,
So
it's just
rewarding.
the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, next year, the past life, I really want to go and do. I want to train in that because
Yeah.
I think it is something I've always been really interested in, but
Yeah.
something probably I've never spoke about or put out there because we kind
Yeah.
of pretend we're not as woo as
Oh
we
my
are. I think we've done that
gosh.
in the past. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm all for it.
Yeah. 100% in.
But I just find it fascinating that past lives can affect our present day life
Yeah.
and we're not aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not aware consciously because we're
Mm.
so busy living in this three-dimensional world we're in. And yet so often we're holding on to something. So for example, I was working with my coach on getting comfortable selling, getting
Mm.
comfortable saying, hey, this is what I do. I have these offers. Here I am. But I felt a really kind of sleazy energy around selling. And I was going, well, that's not me. What have I
Mm.
got going on? And so I had a hypnotherapy session, and I didn't intend to go to a past life, but it was as if I was seeing it almost through a mirror or a piece of a glass or a crystal ball or something. I don't know, but it was this image of someone. And I instantly knew it was a past life. And it was probably around Georgian times. I don't
Mm.
know exactly. We didn't really go into much of the detail like I would in a normal past life session. Or I just got the information I needed. But there was a version of that person that was sat in my safe place, which was a bubble just hovering in space.
Mm.
And this person had white hair and they were wearing a white jacket and they were just, their energy was really, really pure. But the version we could see through the glass was they had kind of, they looked a little bit like Snape in Harry Potter. They had sort of really lank black hair and were
Mhm.
wearing all black and they had a really heavy energy about them. And it was a really, um, a socially awkward person that would be diagnosed with all sorts of things these days that
Mhm.
we didn't know back then,
Mhm.
and just had this sort of desire and wanting, but not knowing how to fulfill it, and it coming across as being needy and being a bit sleazy and a bit
Mhm.
icky. Um, but the version of that past life was also showing up to me in my safe place as this pure energy of just light and brightness. And they were
Wow.
saying, look, you've got to release that version because it's not really who you are. It's
Mm.
just the way you were seen by the world at
Yep.
that time because you were a misfit in that life. And it was amazing. We healed and cleansed and did all this stuff. And
Mm.
then and then it was like me and this person were connecting in this whole new way. And I
Yeah.
was able to release the the belief systems and the baggage from that past life.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was all in imagination. And but what mattered for me was that on my unconscious level, I'd released that sleaziness, that ickiness,
Yeah.
that belief system around my business and my sales. So I was able
Yes.
to get free of that.
How amazing.
And then there's the soul world.
Oh.
That's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just this whole, and everyone experiences it differently. There are so many
Mm.
books written on life between lives and past lives. Um, a really good book to start with. What's it called? Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yeah, this book keeps coming up to me at the moment. Like, yeah,
Really,
somebody I know put a
it's
picture of it on
fascinating.
Instagram. You've mentioned it, and I know
Yeah.
that's the route that I'm going to go down. And I
Yes,
think these things come to you, don't
they
they?
really
So I think
do.
I definitely need
Oh,
to
that's your
read
next
this.
book.
Yeah,
That's your August reading.
yeah,
Yeah, he was a psychotherapist who had this client and he couldn't get anywhere with her. And so
mm,
he'd done a little bit of hypnotherapy, but didn't really get it much. But he just went, oh, well, I'll just use the tools I know,
yeah,
counted her into relaxation. And she just went to all these past lives. And he was going, what is this? This is bonkers. If they find out, my colleagues find out this is the stuff we're doing, I'm going to get struck off. And the more sessions this woman came back for,
yeah,
the more he went, well, this is just so real. She's
mm,
feeling, physically feeling these experiences and this truth and stuff that's coming out of her mouth. There's no way this woman could have the capacity to understand the stuff that's coming out of her mouth.
yeah.
It was just impossible. And so this guy then wrote the book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Oh, Brian Weiss. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the book is out there. So yeah, there's so
But it's true,
much
isn't it?
to
Like
it.
our souls, like if,
Yeah.
when we pass away, they can't just go.
No.
Really can't. I've just completed my Reiki level 2 with
Oh,
Kate Sloan. She's actually coming on the podcast.
great.
And we speak about the souls and the different realms,
Yeah.
and
Oh, there's so
it's
much we don't
just
understand.
incredible. Exactly. But us as human beings think we understand everything and we have control
Yeah.
over everything. And anybody who
Oh,
speaks the way we are, people are like, oh, people
how
can
do
be that.
we know? We just
We don't, and it's when we open ourselves up to all this, I think it's
yeah.
just absolutely
Mm.
incredible. And
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest leaps that I've made in my life is be more open to
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
not being judgmental,
Yeah.
taking things on board, and they might be right for you at the time, they might not be, but in
Yeah.
6 months' time, a year's time, they might be right for you. Like
Yes,
in a child work
exactly.
round hypnotherapy,
Wow.
probably took about 2 years for me to,
Really?
yeah, to open up to doing some of that. Once
Mm.
I started doing that in a child work, that's when a
That
lot
was,
unlocked for me.
yeah.
But I just wasn't ready beforehand, and
No,
that's fine. And
you come
anyone
to it
who's
when you're ready.
listening, like, this sort of work comes to you when you are ready.
Yes. Yes.
You don't need to force it.
No,
You just allow it to happen.
you'll get what you're here for. You'll
Yeah.
get what you came for. And that's what I say to every client. Listen, you've certain issues have brought you here.
Yeah.
You'll get what you need,
Yeah.
not what you want. As long as you're open to that, you'll get what's for your highest and greatest good.
Mm-hmm.
If you try and control the journey, you're not going to get the same kind of transformation.
Yes.
So be open
Open.
to whatever comes.
Oh,
Oh my gosh,
that is
yes.
just, and I think that's a perfect way to end. It is just as a, honestly, Katie, I could speak to you all day
Oh,
about this,
same. We can talk
but
all
it's
day.
just amazing the way, you know what I mean, the clients you help, the performers,
Yeah.
and this is why I wanted to have this chat, because we've similar backgrounds, and then
Gosh,
on to
yeah.
doing the same job but in different ways. And I think the more people we put this out to, the more we talk about it, the
Yeah.
more we speak our truth and how much it's helped us, other people
Mhm.
might listen, hear,
Yeah.
and it might help them as
Yeah.
well.
And know that they're safe. They're safe to do the inner work.
Yes.
They're safe to become the version of themselves they want to become.
Yeah.
And also they're safe to go into this stuff and heal the things.
Hmm.
You know, everything in this realm, nothing scary. There's
No,
nothing demonic about
no,
it. None of that. I've not come across anything like that.
no,
It's
I haven't.
pure and healing and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as people can stop telling themselves stories about it being weird or
Yes.
scary or
Yeah.
that nonsense,
Because
that's just
I
not how
had
it
that
is.
fear. I
Yeah.
remember going into my first hypnotherapy session and feeling panicked because
Yeah.
I'd never been as that relaxed.
Yes.
But it's we don't need to fear anything.
No.
And also the healing work that you're talking about, it's like we can do our own healing. We don't need anyone
Yes.
else to do it for us. And
Yeah.
that's something I think everyone should take. You don't need anyone
Mm.
else to give you validation or to do anything for you.
No.
You do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Take ownership, speak your own truth,
Yes.
and stand in your own power.
Yes. And trust the guidance that you're receiving
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I just love
Oh
it.
my
And
goodness.
just thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, there's definitely going to have to be a part two.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But I've
I will travel.
absolutely loved this chat,
Thank
and I
you.
hope it helps out
Oh,
people that are listening, because I
yeah.
think it'll open up a lot of conversation. So thank you for
Yes.
joining us
Oh,
today, and I'm
thank you
so thrilled.
so much for inviting
Thank
me.
you.
Ah.